Greetings, friends! Y'all remember this person? They wrote a book. This book? A Long Dark Shadow, Minor Attracted People and Their Pursuit of Dignity. That one? The book itself, challenging widespread assumptions that persons who are preferentially attracted to minors, often referred to as pedophiles, are necessarily also predators and sex offenders. This book takes readers into the lives of non-offending, minor-attracted persons, MAPS, that's where it comes from. There is little research into non-offending MAPS, a group whose experiences offer valuable insights into the prevention of child abuse. Navigating guilt, shame, and fear, this universally maligned group demonstrates remarkable resilience and commitment to living without offending and to supporting and educating others. Using data from interview-based research, A Long Dark Shadow offers a crucial account of the lived experiences of this hidden population. And after an interview justifying their stance in research, they received a lot of flack, and the university that they were doing their research at immediately suspended them, and ultimately, they're no longer at that university. Well, they've shown up again. They are now at the Moore Center for Prevention of Child Abuse as a postdoctoral fellow for their experience and research into the topic. And it's easy to stay right there and be reactive to it. And hey, I was there too. But before I just react, I wanted to dig a little deeper. Now let's do a choose your own adventure style. If you want to be reactive, just sit at the surface and go, yep, the person who's trying to normalize pedophilia by using the word MAPS is now a lead contributor to an institute that is supposed to prevent child and sexual abuse. And the reason they're there is because they have done the field research, to understand the mental workings behind the how. So you got to think like a bad guy to catch bad guys. However, it's a slippery slope, isn't it? But little old me doesn't sit at the surface. I had questions that needed answered. So I started digging. So option 2 in Choose Your Own Adventure, follow me down the rabbit hole and let's see how deep this really goes. As I'm trying to wrap my head around how a lead researcher who has concluded that we should no longer use the term pedophiles and call them MAPS because it's more inclusive is now a contributor to the Moore Center for Prevention of Child Abuse, why that happened. And I thought, well, let's look at the Moore Center. What do they do? The Moore Center for the Prevention of Child Sexual Abuse is part of the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. Well, let's see what their mission statement is. Since launching in 2012, the Moore Center for the Prevention of Child Sexual Abuse has made incredible progress towards the prevention of child sexual abuse. Pause to read. On the surface, seems pretty simple. It's an institute dedicated to training people and providing resources to help reduce child trafficking. Awesome. But what's interesting is that there's an empathetic avenue towards the website. Okay, so this institute provides a couple of avenues. One, providing resources for those with urges to be attracted to minors and to help work through that from an empathetic lens, and to help develop programs and provide resources to help reduce child trafficking and abuse. Okay, well, what else do they do? There was one section of the homepage that caught my eye, Help Wanted. Well, I couldn't help myself but click it. It's a resource for people who have the urges and attractions to minors to begin understanding more about themselves. Pause to read. Looking into the other projects they do, there's one that caught my eye, a $10.3 million grant from the Oak Foundation for a 5-year program to validate, identify, and disseminate child sexual abuse perpetuation prevention programs worldwide. So I had to ask myself, Oak Foundation, that's a big number. Who are they? And if there's one thing I've learned time and time again, it's to follow the money. So as we dig deeper down the rabbit hole and ask who's willing to donate $10.3 million grant to this, the Oak Foundation. We address issues of global, social, and environmental concern. Through our 11 programs, we support others to make the world a safer, fairer, and more sustainable place to live, with offices in a bunch of places. Okay, what are the 11 programs? Looking at how they distributed their grants in 2018, you can see the 11 programs. Prevent child sexual abuse at the top of the list at $26 million. Awesome. Special interest at $57 million. I see a lot of $1 million there. That is a lot of money in a foundation Where does it come from? And since that's not going to be a question that's easy to answer, let's look at leadership and the founder. This information's from influencewatch.org. Credibility debatable, but it is still a resource with information. The founder, Alan M. Parker, currently living in Geneva, Switzerland with an estimated worth of about $2 billion, is the founder and main funder of the Oak Foundation. Out of all of that money, that's a large chunk of money to come from a primary funder. I'm sure there's others, but let's look at him a little bit harder. Go ahead and pause. Well, isn't that a fascinating connection? Let's look at Alan M. Parker a little closer. Careful now, rabbit hole's gonna get deep. Pause to read. So back in the day, he was an accountant who was brought on to understand international tax law for a firm so they could better manage their money. And in those early investor days, he was partnered with names like George Soros and Julianne Robertson. Well, who's Julianne Robertson? Let's take a look. All right, Julianne Robertson, founder of several nonprofit organizations and is a frequent donor to Republican candidates. Interesting. And George Soros, pause to read. One of the most powerful and influential people in the political arena. The reason we don't know about him is because of what he can do. Well, not only is looking at the founder important, but let's look at the leadership as well. Pause to read. Leadership with representation from the Gates Foundation and the Obama administration. All in the leadership. Interesting. Let's look at his partner from back in the day, who developed Atlantic Philanthropies, who in the 2016 election was a heavy contributor to the Democratic Party and their candidate, Hillary Clinton. That's an awful lot of big names that have shown up on a list recently, a list that we don't have access to because during Gayleen's trial it was decided that we should protect them instead of the children. So no wonder someone who's trying to normalize pedophilia and create empathy around it was put in place of an institute that is supposed to help reduce trafficking and abuse, even though it's directly funded and managed by predators who are trying to get to their prey. No wonder. Put aside emotions, put aside egos, put aside politics. The normalization of sexuality with children is a problem. And we need to accept where that line needs to be drawn, LGBTQ community. This isn't about us and our acceptance. We should be enough for ourselves. This is about not opening Pandora's box so predators can get to their prey. Because that is what they do. They seek every opportunity possible, no matter how public-facingly harmless it looks. We need to pause and be realistic and accept the hard truths.